Hi, we're live. We're live. Welcome.
Excellent. Welcome to the Stream of Truth. I am Dr. Tassel Faith Shamebrook.
And I am Mr. Sean Kelly, wizard. I just realized I wanted to have a title too.
I
I
know.
feel,
It always seems weird if I'm saying that, and I totally agree. Maybe just wizard, wizard,
I'm going to think of something that I enjoy and I'll say it.
Monseigneur, Monsieur.
I'll think of something. I'll think of something.
Yes. Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
so today, our topic, I just wanted to say before we get into it, that it's going to be probably more of an explicit discussion. So if you're not comfortable with that, I recommend getting out of here, basically. But I think it's obvious based on the topic, and maybe do you want to start describing sort of what we're going to talk about today?
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Yes, we are going to talk about sex today.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, chat.
Oh, okay. I think it's so fun to talk about sex on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
Because I think usually maybe this wouldn't be what I would be talking about
Yeah.
on a Monday morning.
Well, sometimes you're going to find, my baby, you're going to hold her tight, going to grab some afternoon delight, right? So you never know. You never know. Monday's a good day. Monday fun day.
Why not? Yes. So we're going to talk about the physical and spiritual aspects of sex and our understanding that ideally, eventually, sex is really about connecting us back to ourselves and back to our divine connection.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, if we think about like the most emotional things we can do,
Yeah.
there's a few moments where they're very significant. These are like when you're crying in front of somebody, very vulnerably, like very, being totally disgusting about it. And then when you're doing that, when you're at a funeral or something like that, during sex and like marriage as well. But there's a whole bunch of these different ones. And I think all of these are representative of different sort of aspects of merging with the divine, or observing cycles in the divine. So that's sort of how I see all those big events.
It was really curious to me that you used the word disgusting when you were talking about crying.
Oh, I meant like that it feels disgusting to do it so openly.
Does it for you? It
No, no,
does?
no, 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 not for me. Just I've observed this and heard of this, and like people feel ashamed is what I meant.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I
Okay.
just meant you
Okay.
feel ashamed of yourself for being so vulnerable
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Okay.
But you're able to do that and then get accepted, and there's a very profound thing that happens there. Usually, in the person that gets accepted,
Yes.
a really big shift, and that's why holding space for others is so important. But anyways,
Yeah.
I digress. I just wanted to say that, if you think about your emotions, the sexual, like the orgasm is the physical manifest of one of our most heightened senses that we can experience, right? So
Yes.
whenever we have that physical type of manifestation, there's always going to be an energetic manifestation that is mirroring that, or reflecting that. So
Yes. Maybe we should also talk about sex magic later on.
yeah, that's an interesting topic. Yeah, we could definitely talk about that one day too. That's fun.
Um, yeah, at the outset, I want to say that for me personally, this is very exciting for me to talk about because the way I grew up, it felt like I could not talk about sex.
Yes, yeah, and I'll say I'm nervous about it, which is exciting for me because I don't get super nervous about most topics anymore, and this one is nervous for me. So that means there's something there
Yes.
that I'm gonna get out of this or learn or expand it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Juicy for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, there's a little part of me that feels like, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I mean, not really. There's a tiny little voice of like, oh,
Oh, it's like it's naughty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah.
shouldn't, I'm a professional. I mean, of course I'm a therapist, so we do talk about sex, but we're going to be talking about it in a really open way,
I I'm the
and a
opposite
bit
of a
about our,
professional.
what's that?
I said I'm the opposite of a professional.
Well, you're a professional wizard.
Yeah, the professional wizard is the most unprofessional thing you'll ever see. Um, but
Um,
but anyways,
and what I mean partly is that as a doctor of psychotherapy, me talking about my own
right?
sexual
Yeah,
experiences maybe could be considered, I don't know,
yeah.
something that
How dare you be a person?
how dare you be a
How
person?
dare you?
Exactly. And that's why I so wanted to talk about sex, because it's something that is so part of being a human that most people do engage in, as at least at some point in their lives. And yet there does seem to still be taboos about talking about it. It's
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
why can't we just talk about it?
Yeah.
What's the big dealio?
I actually think part of the reason that we don't talk about it is because like the societal mind wasn't really ready to delve into the deeper context of it. Basically,
Ah,
they just weren't evolved enough really to grasp at it.
yes.
But then what ended up happening was it was noticed that there was, and this is going to be esoteric and conspiracy sort of oriented, but
Okay.
it noticed by the elite that if we don't allow them to truly connect in an accepted way with their sexuality, we can keep them under control, right? Because
Yes.
they're not gonna find that lair because they're gonna feel ashamed
Yes.
about themselves all the time.
Right, right.
So
Even say the word masturbation.
yeah, a lot of the
That
words were
word
formed
sounds
to be
so
to have connotations.
weird.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds just if you're doing something negative just from the
So
word.
yeah, so you could think of the society in many ways being programmed that way, right?
Yes.
But now what's happened is we're starting to shed all of that programming and stuff, and
Yes.
as individuals, but also as a collective, and that's why we're seeing so much turmoil and things in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so where was I going with that? What's going on? What am I talking
Okay,
about?
so as we discussed, perhaps we'll just first talk about how that it seems for most of us, we were taught about sex, or the messaging about sex was all about the physical experience, the physical pleasure, one's physical appearance during sex, and also very performance
Yeah,
oriented.
performance. Yeah.
So for men, the erection, uh, maintaining maintaining the erection
Yeah, I don't
at
know
all
what
costs.
endurance as well,
Endurance.
and then
Yeah.
and yeah, all these different sort of metrics that we would
Yes.
that we would
Yes.
apply,
Yes.
however they show up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for women, I would just say so much messaging about how you look. You
Yeah.
gotta look hot during sex.
I've been noticing that men have been getting a lot of like really positive dad bod stuff out there, like from women on social media,
From women?
which has been
Oh, I
nice to
love
see.
that.
Yeah, it's it's
love
nice to see
that.
that. So that like it's sort of it's just different to see that it was, I don't know, it's nice to see that that's expanding a bit.
Yes.
Not that it
that's
makes
so
much of a
beautiful.
difference to me at this point, but that programming did affect me when I was younger, that type of thing. Like I'm supposed to look this certain way.
Yes.
For me, luckily I wasn't super attached to the body. I was able to sort of just, I was like, I don't have the discipline or care to try to maintain something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to accept how I am.
Yes.
That's how I got around it. And,
yeah.
but a lot of people, yeah, there's a lot of programming from both sides on how you're supposed to look.
Yes.
And then there's like pornography as well, which is just like a very
Yes.
misrepresented thing, as far as it's very polarizing too, to talk about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all these various things, and a lot of it's all like the surface level. And so
it's all the surface level, and this connects into what you were saying about sort of the elite, perhaps with this agenda to keep us somewhat disconnected. It's also distractionary from what this union could be. I know for myself that for most of my life, I just thought of sex as I better look good, and not even in a way be present during sex because I was so concerned of looking a certain way. And then outside of having sex, I had a ton of concern about how I looked, and absolutely put a lot of focus on trying to look good. So just so much distraction away from ourselves and what we could experience. And then you had a point about that the man can easily get into this state of just seeking climax.
Yeah, so my this is my theory anyway, because I've wondered about this. There's a tendency in the man, or that I feel is quite common, to just sort of go in with great intentions, right? Like, this is gonna be a great thing. We're gonna pleasure each other, right? But what ends up happening is the man just gets to this place where he can't control his climax. Or his urge to achieve it, and so it becomes what's happened is there's an imbalance in the chakras, in the red, orange, or yellow, and what's happening is they're empowering a negatively, or not negatively, but it's a self-service oriented activity. It switches. Because the distortion's so great. So, and that's usually due to the societal programming and stuff like that. So,
yes.
So it's not their fault or anything like that. It's perfect. I'm not trying to judge it, anything like that. So what happens is that takes over, and then the rest of the intentions fall away, and that desire needs to be satiated.
Yes.
So you could call that desire as well karma, if you're thinking of it in those terms. Like there's a karmic energy that needs to be satiated, that's pulling at the being energetically.
And then you were also saying that it's related to our survival genetic instinct to procreate, that
right.
That is coming through.
Yeah, like basically, we didn't always have the leisure time that we have now.
Yeah,
and
for
so
foreplay or
right, there was get in and get it done, sort of.
Right. There might be a dinosaur coming.
It's dangerous out here. That type of animalistic, I think, has carried over a lot. That's my theory, anyways.
So it's really interesting to me, and we talked about this before, because prior to our relationship, in other relationships, I would often feel that it was a threesome. It was me, the male partner, and his penis. And it felt exactly as you've described it. It felt like at some point it just was about the penis. And it got really boring to me.
Yeah.
And I
can imagine. I can imagine it would, yeah.
And at a certain point, I just decided I no longer want to have that type of sex. I am not interested in just the climax of the penis. It was boring to me. So, and then we also talked about this, just when we watch movies and these very intense sexual scenes of people up against walls and throwing the woman down on the kitchen table and all the dishes
breaking
scattering,
vases and
all this dramatic
putting her on the piano, and it's like a just weird stuff.
It's just all this messaging about the performance and the passion and the the climax.
And if it's not like that, then it's not, exciting or something.
Yeah.
There's a
And
bunch
then
of
of
that
course,
stuff.
in the movies, everyone's absolutely gorgeous and quote unquote perfect bodies and all that. So gosh, we're just inundated with, you gotta look good, and it's gotta be, you gotta perform and, turn your woman on, and oh my God, so much pressure. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So as I said earlier, I know for me, during most of my sex life, I just wasn't even present at all. Not that there weren't aspects that I enjoyed, but all in all, it was kind of like, I don't know, I felt a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So maybe let's go into what we think is happening energetically. So now
Yes.
get into it a little bit deeper, I think, and just say that we're not talking about men and women. We're talking about energies here always. So if I ever say man or woman, I really mean them interchangeably. I'm talking about the energies. And so it doesn't have to be a man and a woman or anything like that. We should probably said that from the beginning. That,
Yes, of
we're
course.
talking from our experiences with it is, I'm a man, she's a woman, obviously, right? So we're having that type of, though both of us don't really see gender as much anyways. So
Yeah, and I have also had experiences earlier with women, and
right. So I haven't had any experiences with men, although I had a couple offered, and I wondered, I was like, nah, and I was like, I don't want it. I don't know, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But like I said, none of that really matters to us in the discussion. We're just sort of talking about energies.
Yes.
And so I wanted to talk about just attraction, like what happens, because a lot of people can be really ashamed of their attractions.
Yes.
So attraction forms first in the red ray. This is like the body's instinctual attraction. This is developed early on in the life, or is a bias from previous lives. So, like maybe you have a preference for hair color or a preference for body type or height or whatever it is.
Yes.
These preferences, and then there's also the survival preferences that are based on like procreation that kick in as well. Like
so maybe like even like large
breasts would indicate a fertile mate, things like that, right?
Yes.
So there's that type of thing, and then that all gets formed, and that is instinctual, and you don't have control over it. So you have to let yourself off the hook. That one of the hardest things to forgive is this type of thing. And it's hard to forgive it of others. So like if you watch your boyfriend check out another woman beside you, there is, some consciousness that can be applied to be like, oh, I disagree with this vibration. So what happens is the entity that you're observing has a harmonious red ray with yours. The body, the physical manifest body, has which is the yellow ray manifest, but in physicality, has a vibrational match with yours to you. So you are attracted. Once that happens, the other entity either resonates as well or doesn't. This is why they'll turn around and look at you, generally, if they're attracted.
So this is chemistry? This is what chemistry
This is what
is.
Chemistry could be called. Yeah, like the instinctual chemistry.
This red ray.
Yeah.
Recognition.
And so basically you can imagine...
I like their red ray.
You can imagine at the higher level that the souls are observing this occur, right? The soul on the left resonates, vibrates in red ray. The soul on the right does too. The soul on the right will nudge to look over, for example, so that they meet eyes.
Yeah.
And then what happens after that is anybody's guess. But maybe nothing happens, right? Like you could have that happen anywhere, at any time, multiple times in, a 10-minute duration walking through the supermarket. You might have that happen 20 times.
Yeah.
Now that would be a lot, right? That would mean you're pretty indiscriminate, right?
Your red ray is very open.
You're pretty open. You're pretty open. And
Yes.
congratulations on your open and loving being.
Very open-minded.
But my point is just that happens instinctually, and it's just a little attraction, and it's meaningless because it's so instinctual. It's formed. It's just attracted like a magnet to an anvil, or that's just what happens. It's like metaphysical, like nature for that to occur. So I say that's why I wanted to talk about that, is because we feel so ashamed, like especially we feel ashamed ourselves, or if we witness our partner and we notice that we notice an attraction that can hurt us, right? We're personalizing that, and so we need to just like let go of all that first, I think. It's not that that's easy.
Yeah,
but
that's really, that can be painful. Yeah.
It's hard because it makes you look at yourself. It makes you look at yourself. It makes you look at your partner, and you have to come to terms with, yes, they may find another person attractive, and that's okay.
Yes. Just to give some fun personal examples, like I think there was a woman you were talking about who maybe had contacted you about some work stuff, and I think you said something like she is attractive, or we were just talking about it a little bit.
I think you had said she's attractive, and I had said, and I agreed with you, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have just said, "Oh, hey, guess who I'm attracted to? Guess who I find is attractive," or I would never do that, right? So, I think you sort of mentioned it, and then I confirmed that, I'm not gonna lie, right? So
yeah, that's what you said. So it's interesting because you said it that way because you were, picking up on that it might be hard for me to hear that you found her attractive. So, and it's just so funny because we know, of course, there are millions of attractive people roaming the planet. And of course, our partner or ourselves are going to, that person is attractive. And yet it's still hard to run that through. It's hard. It's almost interesting. It's interesting that it's so hard.
Yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging. But once you can do that, you're going to be at a lot more peace. It's really, a lot of it can just be also about trust, right? The attraction doesn't need to mean anything. That's the whole point of this, is that it doesn't mean anything. It isn't meaningful to be, like, you may vibrate more or less depending on who you are with, but you've probably chosen who you're with because you vibrate so much in harmony, right? So you have to sort of trust that I was chosen, of all these options, I was chosen for them, and I trust that they have faith in their own choosing as well. Like, let them love you, right?
But it is like, it's interesting how much that strikes us internally about
it's hard.
Our partner finding someone else attractive. It's really, it can be intense.
And then, I guess, should we just like go into what happens energetically, or what I think happens, and then we can maybe talk a little bit about experience,
energy transfer.
Yeah. So this is a confusing topic, I think. Most of what I'm going to talk about here I've got from the Law of One, and then just sort of meditative or introspective type experiences. So I've kind of formed my theory around that, or my belief, I guess. I wouldn't call it a theory, it's my belief. Basically, you start to vibrate in orange and then yellow, and let's just assume you decide to talk to the person you're attracted to, or it's your partner and you're attracted to them already, and you decide to basically go try to have sex. You're going to talk to each other, and you'll start to vibrate in different energy centers in harmony with each other. And so then the attraction just builds, because now you're starting to make a story around the relationship. You're starting to form an image of this person's consciousness, an identification that you can label as them, and you're starting to form a relationship with that. So now you have these energy centers vibrating in resonance. And then when you get to the actual act of like having sex, you're now mingling these energies, or vibrating with each other. You're basically vibrating. And most beings, like most that are just into the physical, all that stuff, are going to open their red, their orange, and their yellow. They're not necessarily going to open their heart.
Yes.
And but some do, right? And so basically, if they're both, one opens their heart and the other doesn't, that's still going to be a good experience. This one is going to be giving love freely, but this one's not really going to be giving. They're more taking, and that arrangement's fine. But what ends up happening is this open heart may inspire this one to open. And right, so this is how couples will start to have like more progressively spiritual experiences. So then what happens is this entity, who maybe is just more senior in vibration, perhaps they are an old ancient soul of some kind, they would likely have potentiated or opened all of the chakras up to the indigo. So now you start to vibrate in the blue, and then in the indigo, and the indigo is the connection to the creator. And so if you're making love to a being that is indigo open, connected to intelligent infinity, then that's when the other person and this person is going to have the experience of having sex with God or with the divine. So basically the both are sort of experimenting, trying to balance and open energy centers to whatever the experience is that soul desires for that incarnative experience, right? So it doesn't mean this is always everyone's goal. It's not appropriate for everyone necessarily. And that's why somebody that has sex in the indigo ray, most of the sexual energy is happening in the imagination. And that's sort of how I am. And so
that is so me too.
Yeah, so no, I know. And so we have like the same it's not so much the physical stuff as much as the experience in the mind's eye during, right?
Yes.
And so
sorry.
And I was just going to say, and so when those two types of people get together, if the heart ray opens in both, then a bunch of wonky stuff can start happening, which is what ends up being sort of the pathway for some. Yeah.
And I just want to clarify, so the heart ray opening about basically just opening up our love for the other person, our love for self as well. And then what would it mean specifically around sex to open up the blue ray? Is it being honest with each other?
Yeah. Usually the way I see like the brilliance of the blue ray is about honest outward expression of any kind. So it can be energetic expression, like it could be body movement or body language. It could be verbal or just nonverbal communication, basically any communication.
Okay.
So, as long as the being is generally outspoken and honest, that's usually enough.
Okay.
And that energy center is sort of like not a critical component to the experience, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I don't think.
And then,
but it can be. It depends on, like I said, like we always say, everything's totally unique. And the open heart, the way to more empower it is when both are offering themselves in love.
Yes.
So not necessarily how much I love them. Sometimes when we're saying how much we love people, what we're doing is separating from ourselves, and we're placing identification in them and like our desire in them. But instead, if we focus on giving all the love we have to outward, then both are doing that, and there's a more harmonious balance that's going to happen.
Yeah. And then opening up the indigo ray, this is also known as like the pineal gland, third eye.
Right. Yeah.
That would be great actually to do a whole episode on practices of opening up the indigo ray.
The easiest one, I'll just say right now, try to get into a light meditation and then start breathing through your forehead Like feel your sensation of breath coming in through your forehead and and exhaling through your forehead. And every time you do, imagine this eye or mouth opening up. Just feel the sensation of a mouth opening up and breathing in and breathing out through your third eye.
Whoa.
Do that as much as you want.
Okay, so just to summarize, we're saying to have these more expansive, spiritual, divine, sexual adventures. First of all, is it essential to have, say, a long-term, intimate partner? Can you have this experience with any partner?
The one who knows themselves as the divine can, if they're maintaining that awareness during. Yeah, so that would be, you would say, the enlightened one would be able to experience that regardless of what the other person's doing.
Okay.
Or who they are. That doesn't mean that they would be interested in that. It just means that the potential is there for them to be very freely, openly sexual beings.
Yeah.
But they could also be very selective. There's really, they could do whatever they would wish, but the other beings' vibrations don't alter their experience because there's no condition. There's no judgment at all. So there's no discretion there happening. It's creator to creator and God to God.
Okay. So would we say that follow your own guidance in these matters about your sexual partners?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also try not to like give yourself some room to forgive yourself for anything that feels like you're really drawn to it, but also feels like a little shameful. Mm-hmm. Within reason, of course, right? Like, we do have rules here in society. And, if you have weird attractions that are not accepted by the human race, I definitely am not suggesting you pursue those.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, if you feel attracted to somebody, if you're in a relationship, for example, and you feel really, really attracted to somebody, it may be worth, telling your partner and trying that. We were talking about a couple that did that you're familiar with. And, it's because that karmic energy is going to come back again anyway. Mm-hmm. So it may be worth doing that just to get that out of your system, more or less, is another way to look at it. Like, most likely you'll remember the partnership that you had, and most likely it was a more instinctual, or it was a very strong surface level vibratory match. That's most likely what you'll notice. And that's why some of those dynamics come up. But we got a really good question.
Awesome.
Why are we so sexual in the beginning, right after the soul recognition, or like awakening, I think is when we start to remember ourselves, and she said, or he said, nympho-like.
Oh, okay.
What do you think? What's your
So the question is, why after we awaken?
Why do we suddenly, I think what she's saying is, generally we tend to get very sexual, or very, very wanting of sexual experience. And I guess, so she's asking what he or she is asking why. So what do you think? What do you think? Or what was your experience?
Yeah.
If you want to share that.
So first of all, thank you so much for the question. It's great to have a fun, juicy question. My experience after my awakening. So one of the deeper stages of my awakening occurred during my very intense divorce custody situation. And I actually did want to have a lot of sex.
Sorry, sorry. They're talking about contact with our soul connection. So divine partner, I think. But let's continue down where you're going
Okay.
though. Sorry.
Uh, I think for me, I did not have a great sex life during my marriage. And once I was out of the marriage, I really wanted to connect, I think, and I wanted to experience that aspect of myself and just sex in general. So I went through a period of that, and then I went through a very strong guidance of abstinence.
Yeah.
And I could feel that I was preparing for my life partner. I felt like I was purifying myself, and it was hard. There was a part of me that really still wanted to have sex, but there was a larger part that was like, this is what the path is right now for you. That was my experience.
Yeah. Mine was similar, very similar. I didn't really go through the big dating or anything. I just stopped. But I had a lot of urges to date or to, but I think I went on a date or two or something.
Did you have like red ray urges?
Not as much, not with like, I could notice it differently. I think I was just noticing it, that it meant nothing. I already knew that, I think, by then. Okay. So I wasn't basing anything on that. It was interesting because both of them were, or one of them was actually outright said, like, when I met her, she's like, you don't seem like you want to even meet me. And I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't really care at all. So you just kind of got me pegged. It kind of hit me because I was like, oh, she sees me.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I had a couple weird experiences like that, and I was like, forget it. I don't even forget it.
Yeah.
And then I just stopped worrying about it for a while.
Yeah. Just thinking back, I think part of my desire to have some sex after my divorce was partly this egoic desire to feel that I was sexually appealing, because I didn't feel that so much in my marriage. And so I think that was part of it for me, is this, I wanted to get that identity back or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't super healthy in that way at all. Yeah. So would it be okay to talk a little bit about my experience with you?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've talked about it. We've basically had the same experience, more or less, or very similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to say that I'm basically, we've had the same experience, I think, more or less.
Yeah. You mean the same experience leading
with
up
each
to?
No, with each other.
Oh, with
during,
each other. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, what was really interesting to me when we met is I almost had, I think I did, like a vision of the chakras just all lining up. Like I was just like, oh, on every level, on every energy center, there's a match. It's a lock-in. Lock-in here. It's a lock-in here. It's like, it kind of blew my mind. I had never had that with another person before. This like spiritual connection, intellectual connection, physical connection, all of it. So that was fun. I would say there's chemistry on all these levels, intellectual chemistry and spiritual chemistry and all this stuff. So that's really fun. And when we first met, so we met in an airport, was the first physical sighting of each other.
Yeah.
And I saw you, and you were so cute. A little backpack on. And we hugged. And as soon as we hugged, I just felt right. Like almost some electricity, and it felt really right. So that was all really interesting. And and yeah, I'm really attracted to you, clearly. Um
Thank you.
and um okay, so and then what has happened in our intimate life is that exactly what you were saying earlier. Um I think partly you talked about it first and then I tried it. I While we were having sex, I energetically opened up my heart as wide as possible.
Yeah.
And I envisioned and just felt my love pouring out to you. The feeling was, I'm giving you all of my love. I'm giving you all of myself, giving you my complete heart. And in addition to that, I let go of worrying like how I looked. And I let go of worrying about an orgasm. And I was really present. And this was all new to me. I'd never been that way before.
Yeah,
Ever.
I should say this was all very new to me as well. And it took us, like, we talked about it a bit here and there, and we both were trying to do this together, right? So we were doing sort of the same things. Sometimes though, it was funny because we didn't talk about it beforehand. It just happened naturally. And then we both happened to be doing it at the same time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like it's not like we planned it. And so, it's been really interesting. It's been really interesting, like the visions and.
Yeah. So that's what has happened. Do you want to talk about the visions you experienced?
I don't remember what they were specifically. There were just different types of, like, I remember mostly energies, like merging different, but I don't remember the symbols that were used in the moment. But it was usually, I'll see things in like symbologies, like symbolism of different kinds.
Yes.
And that's sort of what I would see. Like I might see like I think I saw a pyramid once that then, like, the colors shifted and went upside down and it turned into like a Merkaba and
Oh, cool.
that type of thing. So, like weird, almost psychedelic type visions for me. And then, yeah, but I can't really recall the specific details, to be honest.
Yeah, for me, very similar. And I've shared this with you. I sometimes see a light matrix, and I see that when we're merged physically, that the light matrix lights up.
Oh, like on the earth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I've seen something similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen what I've seen is, like, I've seen what seemed to be like a real-time view of a map of the world. And when people are doing that, there's these spikes that pop up
exactly
all over the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's like a mesh that pops up and then I don't know.
Yeah, even like
I don't know how to
sort of
describe it.
Like even like you entering, like as you enter, the spikes happen, the light matrix lights up, which is cool. And then I've also experienced your finishing as light.
Oh, yeah.
Light.
That's right, yeah.
Like literally as light entering me, like seeing it as light from God. And then at least a couple of times it felt like I was making love to God through you, or you were God, I was God, we were God. I don't even know how to describe it. It just
it's hard to describe.
Yeah, it felt like I experienced God.
Yep.
In my body. So these are all such exciting experiences, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see as we continue. It feels like it's going to deepen.
I can't imagine. Everything that we've been doing has always expanded. So like, I mean, I can't imagine that like we've figured it out.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be more. It's going to get weirder and weirder, I bet.
Yeah. This is so exciting because I had no idea this was possible. I had no idea
Yes.
you could do this through sex.
Chad said this is more Star Wars like than I expected. Yeah, I mean it gets wacky. I don't know how to describe it.
I had no idea this was possible. Like I'd heard of, tantric sexuality and sacred sexuality. And I think
I'd heard of
what
it
we're
too,
talking
but
about
yeah,
is could be termed under that.
probably.
But I didn't realize there would be visions and sort of these metaphysical things happening.
Yeah. And then there's like things that like you can experiment with, like no touch energy transfer like that. And doing the same thing without touching each other. That would be interesting too. So anyways, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And we have no idea what we're doing really as far as all of it goes.
Yeah, we're not even reading anything about this. It's totally experiential.
This is just what we've experienced.
Trying it out like scientists.
The metaphysical stuff I talked about with the energy centers is my understanding of the law of one primarily,
right.
But there is also just intuitive understanding that's peppered in there too. That's why I don't source them too much on it, but definitely I always recommend the law of one. So go ahead and read that.
Just to offer, I guess, any like tips for anyone listening to this who would like to have these metaphysical divine experiences. I guess just to start with the understanding it's possible. Like you can have these experiences. To believe it's possible. Yeah,
that there's more happening here. And you probably had some sort of awareness of this already.
Yes.
Or you were wide aware of it, and we've just been confirming for you your experiences, which is great.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just helping to shift some of that.
Yeah.
In the consciousness, help people approach it a little differently.
And it seems like being with a partner whom you feel safe with, obviously that would be a great thing no matter what, if you're doing this or just normal sex. But doesn't necessarily have to be a long-term partner, but someone that you feel very comfortable with, and to be really present and to, as much as possible, let go of these egoic ideas about maybe how you look or your performance. It's not about any of that, right? This is about the connection within and the connection with the divine. And if it feels safe, if it feels resonant, opening up your heart, and see what happens.
Yep.
And the biggest thing for me was letting go of trying to achieve orgasm. Just stop doing that, because that was really distracting me. And not that you couldn't do that. Not there's anything wrong with that. But to me, that was distracting me from being present.
Yeah, it's focusing on any particular physical thing or whatever is what you're trying not to do. You're just trying to, like,
let it unfold. Let the experience unfold naturally without forcing anything.
Trying not to. I think it's just trying not to worry or get anxious about anything. That's, I think, the main thing. You can focus really wherever you want, I think, as long as it's positive.
Yeah. I think it's so much like all these other metaphysical practices of channeling and going shamanic journeying and going into it's all the same practice. Like, be present, let go, have faith, let things naturally just unfold.
Yep.
Through you, spirit sort of through you. And I'll also just say, we don't always do this. Like
Oh,
sometimes
right. Yeah. No.
it is just about we're having sex and it's about orgasm and
Yeah.
it's
It.
uh so you don't always have to do it this way either. But I think it's very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. It adds a whole new level of stuff to something that was already pretty cool.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. 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 Was there any other point we wanted to make?
No, I think that's it. You know, I wanted to say that you can notice orange ray distortions in somebody as well, in yourself and other people, or like various distortions in the red, orange, or yellow ray when people want to dominate or be dominated during sex. So that
Okay.
that's their soul wants to basically learn of control of others and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that that's not right. What I'm saying is the souls wants to experience this to learn the lesson,
Okay.
right? So as long as both are consenting, then there's no issue with anything, and I'm not judging it. But what I'm just saying is that this red ray sexual manifestation is helpful to notice, because it means that most likely that person in their daily life or somewhere else will feel very weak or disempowered. And so this is part of some of the way that they explore how to retrieve that power. And that need will almost never be filled. So it's something really and it doesn't, I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that that it's really good to look at that behavior, and that behavior is perfectly acceptable, and if it's enjoyable to both of you, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's indicative of a different area that is disempowered, and you're trying to balance.
Yes.
So so it can be very useful to notice that in yourself.
And I'm curious what your opinion is on this. As a therapist and just as an observer of people in general, it often seems to me that people often seek sex to connect, to feel something, to not feel so alone. Is that, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know about that. So to me, I think my rational mind just sort of says, it's just animalistic. It's in our nature to pursue sexual encounters. But then part of me, it could literally be ways of souls having little embraces that, like, on another level, the souls are like, "Yee," right? Like loving it, right? And regardless of what the people are or what they're doing, the souls are just like, I love you, I love you, I love you, like having whatever. So I think that even sometimes that's happening just for souls to come together to say hello and have a mingling in the physical. And I don't know. So I have some weird theories about that stuff.
So the way you just said it, it's like the connection could be motivated by a more animalistic red ray urge. It could be motivated by the human wanting some contact. It could be motivated on the soul level of the souls wanting to connect. So lots of possibilities. Super interesting.
And we'll usually be drawn to people, to form relationships with people that embody aspects of self that we don't in some way.
Oh, I would love to do a whole show on that.
Yeah. And
super interesting.
We'll do that because it's all of our soul recovery. That's how we're trying to find ourselves again.
Work.
We could do a whole episode on just soul retrieval. And
different
like Jungian
ways.
Stuff, and like with shadow aspects and things too.
Totally.
But I think that's it. Thanks everyone for watching, to the live people that were here with us, and also to any of you at later times.
I'm just wishing you like all the best on your metaphysical sexual journeys. It's So exciting.
Yeah, get off on getting off. So, all right. Thanks, everyone.
I was just gonna say spirituality just doesn't have to be about like meditating and yoga and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it can be
about fun stuff.
Sex.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's part of what we want to do too is talk about some of these more fun things. Some of our stuff is quite serious, so it's nice to talk about some fun stuff.
Totally.
So
Totally fun.
thanks everyone for